Welcome back to the art studio. So we are painting with acrylic paint today. Please make sure that you have those notes to me, the Bob Ross notes and the acrylic paint notes. Those should be emailed to me. We started off by looking at landscapes and we sketched two different ones. So this one is the mountain one. This is a student artwork. The other one is the desert one. So make sure that those are finished and also emailed to me. And next we're going to be going straight onto the canvas. So now we're going to take our pencil and we're going to continue with the landscapes, but now you get to make your own. So you can use the one that you sketched before, or you can make up your own. Either way is good with me. It has to have all three parts. It needs to have your background with your sky and something far away, a middle ground where things are closer but getting smaller, like where this road is disappearing. And then your foreground, this foreground still needs some things like grass, some other details on here, but that's kind of a starter example. So now I'm going to think about what I want to put on here. I really like mountains, so I'm going to go ahead and sketch some on here. Remember when you sketch mountains to let them be organic and uneven. Make them wide, don't let them get too pointy. So like these on here, these are really spiky. This is too pointy. Try to go a little bit softer. All right. So there are my mountains. I'm drawing this lightly. I'm not drawing too dark. Doesn't matter too much with acrylic paint because you can cover it, but try not to go too dark because it'll just smear when you touch it. All right, now let's do our middle ground. So I'm going to do a ground line. It's going to be kind of uneven for right below my mountains. That's kind of like the base of my mountain. So that's where my middle ground starts. But I'm going to think about what I want to add into my foreground. I can think about what else goes in the middle ground as well. Maybe I want to have some trees going through here. Maybe I want to have a lake right here. Can think about my foreground. So what things do I want to add up here? So I definitely want to add in a ground line for that. And I can add in either like a path if I wanted it to be, but I think I'm going to have it be water. So I think I want like a stream. I'm going to make those edges of the stream a little bit more uneven. A little bit more natural. Okay, so that's going to be my stream. It's going to kind of just flow along. I'm actually going to let that go up into, be a winding path and like go up into my water that's up there. I'm also going to add some larger objects. You can add animals in here if you want to. I'm just going to stick with nature. I'm going to add a tree in here. I'm just going to tell myself where it's going to go. It doesn't need to be super detailed. I'm going to want some kind of texture and bushes over here. Could do some long grass. But just kind of suggest where things are going to go. Don't get too detailed with this. We're going to go ahead and stop there. If you go too detailed, you're just going to cover it up and it'll be very sad for you later. Things that you need to make sure that you have your palette. For those of you online, I know that you have a separate container with paint and then also a palette. You can leave it in the separate containers and just use this palette for mixing. That's fine with me. You should have a larger brush, and these will look different compared to what I have most likely. But I made sure everyone had a larger brush, kind of a medium-sized brush, and then a smaller brush. So just make sure you have all three of those. The last thing that you need is water. The water is all that you need. I have a very large container today, but you can use whatever cups you have at home. If you have throwaway cups, that's really nice for you not to have to scrub it out later. So if you have like a cup that is meant for just like drinks to throw away, you can use that. I'm just going to use this guy here. Okay, so Bob Ross is our artist. Bob Ross is a painter that does landscapes or has done landscapes in the past with oil paint. We're going to be using acrylic paint, so it's a little bit different. It dries a lot faster. So to start, we're going to take our large brush And it's dry. It doesn't need to be wet or anything because this paint is pretty wet already. If you feel that the paint is too wet or too dry, you can add water to your brush. I'm just going to pick up some of this paint with my large brush, just the white, and I'm going to start with the sky. If you're doing like a sunset or a non-normal, like happy day, it's like a nighttime or something, which can be a happy nighttime, but if you're doing something along those lines, you don't want to add white. If you're doing a nighttime, you'll want to either start with blue or purple, and then you can add some black and the other color like blue or purple into it. I'm going to go over where I'm going to put my tree a little bit, and I'm just going to go over those pencil marks a little bit more too. Make sure there's plenty of white on your page. Just like that. I'm going to take a little dip of blue and just kind of add it in there. Usually the blue is brighter near the top of the page, and then it will get darker at the top and then lighter towards the ground line. So I'm just going to let that kind of fade down a little bit. Lots of little brush strokes. If you want to go around the edge, you can go around the edge of your canvas. If you want to think about that, you can. Let that mix really nicely. I'm going to go for a little bit more of a gradation, add a little bit more blue up here. Think about the top of my canvas and just paint this. There's already the white on the page, so it keeps it really light. Remember, the things that are farther away are lighter, and there's something called atmospheric perspective that makes things look even a little bit more gray or blue as they get farther away. So now I have a very lovely gradation that's happening here. Love that. Okay, now I'm going to add some clouds. To do that, I'm just going to grab some white, and I'm just going to go down with my large brush and just kind of press it into the canvas. I'm going to do a little bit of a swirly motion because I feel like this brush is not making it as soft as I want it to look. So usually the bottom of clouds are very straight like this, nice and straight, and then the top of them kind of fluff up. And that's more of a natural looking cloud. I'm going to do 3 of them because it's nice for our brains when we do uneven numbers of things. So I'm going to do 3 clouds because that's an odd number. It's an uneven number. As where if I did 2, our brains could kind of pair it together a little bit easier, and it's a little bit less interesting. But odd numbers are more interesting. All right, so there are 3 clouds. Got a little bit of white to this one. They're a little bit 3D on my page. They're kind of popping up, and that's really nice. I like that. They're not very flat against the page. They're a little bit 3D looking. All right, so this is the first part. We've painted our sky. Next part will be the mountains, and then we'll move into our middle ground. Please see the next video.